If you like this podcast or the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankeis Pod. It just goes to help fund the software and the hosting. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight I'm talking to Andy Cammiss. Andrew joined the Royal Signals in 1999 and done a full term. He also runs the East Durham Veterans Trust, which we're going to get talking to about a lot later on for after he left the army. It's a very important thing to me personally as well. So we'll talk about that later on. Hi, Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And again, just to repeat what I said before we started recording. Thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. If it wasn't for yourself, people like you, I wouldn't be able to do this. And it's been, great. And the organisation that you started with the East Durham Veterans Trust, honestly, take my hat off to you for that. I know how you work with it, and that's why it took me so long to get you to the podcast. But
yeah,
really take me out of you for that. So it's the same questions for you as what I ask everybody else, which is the normal: where did you grow up? Why did you join the military? What was it like? Why did you leave? And what have you done since? So if you just want to start off with where you grew up and why you joined the military.
Yeah. I grew up in a small pit village, small Durham pit village called Thornley. Just about, must be 5-6 miles outside of Durham. I grew up there whole life. Lived there from being a child all the way up until I went off and joined. When I left school, I didn't leave with a lot, to be honest. I didn't. I think I had to go back to college, didn't do English and maths GCSEs, so I had nothing. And then went to college, left there, and I ended up going working in a meat factory called Curry Foods. And basically, I was making the sliced meats that you buy in Sainsbury's and Tesco's, and all that sort of stuff. And I come out of there one day. I was a little bit pissed off because it wasn't the greatest of jobs, as you can imagine. Standing there for 8 hours a day slicing meat, and I got dropped off. I can't remember why, but I got dropped off in Durham city centre, and I was walking down the road, and I just happened to walk past the Durham Crees office. And to be honest, it was something that I always wanted to do, especially with my uncles. I had a couple of uncles that were in the Navy, a cousin that was a submariner, and a few distant relations that had been in the army as well. And I walked past the Army's careers office, and I thought, do you know what? I fancy that. I fancy getting out of here. I fancy, seeing a bit of the world and stuff like that. So I went in and had a big crack with them. Next thing I know, they stuck us behind a computer, and I did a barb test. And so I did the barb test, and they had a big printout. I did quite well in it, and they had a big printout of everything I could join, everything, from the infantry all the way up to the in-corps and the signals and stuff like that, and what trades I could do and stuff like that. And they said, what do you fancy? I said, well, I've got one mate that's in the signals, and I've got one mate that's a Scots Guard. And he said, well, what do you fancy? I said, I fancy the Scots Guard. And he was like, why? I said, I like the hat. And he says, to be honest with you, son, he says, you're absolutely crackers if you get the Scots Guards. He says, go at the signals, it'll give you a trade, you'll walk away with something. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to join the signals. From there, I went up to Glencorse in Scotland and did my selection for 2 days. Got a little bit of grilling at the end, as everyone does off the officer when he asks you, stuff like, have you taken drugs? And we'd had the briefing before we'd gone in, she said, no, you've never taken drugs. So I knew that question was coming, so I said no, and they grilled us. I've never taken drugs, by the way, but I got grilled. And one of the things I had against us at the time, I had a car, and I had a loan for a car. So they said they said they were going to defer us because of debt. Now this car was worth less than £2,000. So I come back from Glencorse. I was in Glencorse in the January, and so I come back from Glencorse, and months passed. Basically, it got to around about May, and I got a phone call from the Crees office asking if I'd come in and have a chat. So I went in and had a chat, and the colonel was there and the sergeant major was there. And they were like, "What's going on?" I says, "I got deferred." And they're like, "Why?" And I said, "Cost of death." And they said, "Cost of death?" And I was like, "Yeah, cost of death." And he says, "What debt?" I says, I've got a car loan." "How much is your car loan?" I says, "Well, when I got it, it was £2,000. And so he says, "Give us a look at that." And so I showed the colonel and all that. In front of us, he picked up the phone, he phoned Glencorse, and he got the major on the phone that had deferred us. And he absolutely ripped him a new arsehole in front of us. And then he said, "I could have had this lad through basic training now. He could have been in trade training." And so we come off the phone and he was like, "Right, let's get your oath of allegiance done, you're going." And that was it. Literally 3 weeks later, went back to work on Monday, had me notice in. 3 weeks later, I was on the train to Basenborn. And
I've never heard
that's how I joined up, really.
I've never heard of it being deferred because of a loan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strange one, that. Unless they were just oversubscribed and using that as an excuse.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. But
so what did you expect of going to Basenborn then? Did you have any idea what it was going to be like, or was it such a shock to you?
I had a little bit of an inkling, to be fair, because I had I had a couple of mates who were in. Yeah, one was Signals already, and the other one was Scots Guards. So, and then obviously, when you see you're going in the club with your dad and having a few beers, and there's a couple of old boys in there who's joined up and been through it and stuff like that. They're saying, "Oh, you're going to get grilled, you're going to get this." Lots of people giving us advice. I used to work for a guy called John Hudson in Crossways Hotel in Thornley as a barman as well, part-time barman. And he got out as a W1. So he gave us lots of advice and stuff like that. And he said, and the best advice he gave me was, he said, "They'll try and break you." He says, "That's what they'll try and do. They'll try and break you." He says, don't break. Just keep doing what you do. Just keep plodding on and you'll be all right. And I saw that, from day one, week one, where they were trying to break you. And, going in, haircuts. I didn't have a beard at the time, obviously, and, having a shave, pressing your kit. Pressing your kit was a new one for me because my mum used to do all my ironing. So I'll be honest, I struggled with that a little bit. Bulling your boots, all that sort of stuff. It was all a new education for me going through, but I found I loved the fitness. I really enjoyed the running, and the PT sessions. I really enjoyed it. That side of it. I found me true corporal as well became a bit of an inspiration to us, and it was a type of bloke where when you walk in and you got to know him and you're thinking, "That's where I want to be." That's the soldier I want to be, and very much taking inspiration from him. I very much wanted to be a corporal. I very much wanted to be a skilled arms instructor, and then I very much wanted to be a PDI as well. Just from that 12 weeks in Basenborn, and at the time when you're in there, and I'm sure you'll agree, when you're in there, it's a lot of you're taking a lot of shit, really. And you think, I'm done, I'm going to walk, and someone will come to you and convince you to stay and all that sort of good stuff. But when you look back on it now, it's probably one of the best times in my military career is that 12 weeks basic training and getting to know people. And I call it conditioning now when I talk to people about it. And being conditioned.
That's exactly what it is, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You think of it that way.
And being conditioned to live my life that way and follow an order, and with conditioning as well comes rewards and comes punishes. Unfortunately, the rewards are minimal and the punishes are massive. So you come very, very quickly. You come scared. You come scared of getting punished, especially in basic training. I remember being on the ranges and I had my helmet on. I was in the shelter. I'd just come off the range, had my helmet on. I just unclipped the helmet just so I could take a drink, so I couldn't get my chin down to take a drink. And the troop sergeant was there. This guy called Brian Clark, and he looked at us and he said, "Do you think you're a fucking American?" I went, "No, Sergeant." Says, "Why is your helmet unclipped?" I says, "Well, I take a drink, Sergeant." He was like, "Should take your fucking helmet off, shouldn't you?" And I was like, "Yes, Sergeant." So I took my helmet off. He says, "Come here, bring your helmet with you." And I was like, "Okay." So I went over. He says, "Give us your helmet." So I give him my helmet. And he says, "Do you know what I am?" And there was a few things that was running through my mind at that time. But I decided to answer, "No, Sergeant, I don't." He says, "I'm the Army hammer disc, all that sort of stuff, athletics champion." I was like, "Okay." And next thing you know, he does 2 12s and throws me helmet. and he throws it about 30, 40 metres into like overgrown grass. And he says, go and get it. So I walked off to start going and get it. He says, come back. He says, leopard crawl. So I had to leopard crawl out and get my helmet. So that's an indicator of like the punishers that we would get when we were in there. But looking back, I absolutely loved it. I loved them 12 weeks. And if I could do it again, a heartbeat, I would.
I had a conversation last week with a guy, and we spoke a lot about bullying in the army.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't agree with everything that he said. He didn't agree with everything that I said. But when we look back at it, there was a lot of bullying. And for example, that there, all right, it's in training. But in reality, that's all, people would call that bullying. I don't think it is. Like you said, it's conditioning. You're breaking someone down to bring them back.
Yeah.
Well, if someone from the outside seen that, they would literally call that full-on bullying. Or especially stuff like, blanket punishments for the rest of the troop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that?
I don't think it is bullying, to be honest. I mean, I think everyone's definition of bullying is different, and certainly back in 1999, the definition's a lot different to 2024. You know what? So, but for me, I never unclipped my helmet again. And I never made that mistake. Well, I didn't. I never made that mistake again because I didn't want that punisher at the end of the day. So, is it bullying or is it training?
It's training. To me, it's training.
So,
I think the closest I got to that was when I joined the army. We still had the old helmets, and they had a spider inside of them, and the helmet clipped onto the spider, and it had a fucking spike there, and I left the spider out while I was doing something. We were out on like fieldcraft camp, wherever it was. And my troopy come along seeing it, Sergeant Major he was. And he was like, why is that over there? And I couldn't answer him. So he says, right, put your helmet on. I was like, fuck. I put my helmet on very gingerly because there's fucking spikes there. And he just come up and went smack on the top of my head. I'll tell you what, luckily it never fucking, broke a skin or anything like that. But I never, ever left that spider out of my helmet again.
Yeah.
Even later on, but fucking, that was quite a. I wasn't leopard crawling, but I'd never do that again. That fucking hurt, and I remembered it.
Yeah.
Or when what did I do? Because he shot me fucking mess tin. I did something, or something had happened. Something hadn't happened. Oh, that was it. Something didn't happen, and I got the blame. And he came round and he says, like, we had SLRs, the old blank firing attachment.
Yeah.
And I didn't have. That was it. I didn't have enough water for me rolled oats. And he was having a go at us for that. And he says, right, give us your mess tin. Give me mess tin. And he says, this is what a blank does to somebody, so don't fire it close. And he shot me mess tin. And I didn't think much of it, so I looked at the mess tin. There's a fucking hole in the bottom of it. So I had another week with the mess tin with a hole in it, so I couldn't eat out of a fucking hole. And then I nearly got charged for handing it back in to get it fucking replaced. How did that happen? Oh, it wasn't me. Don't believe you. Oh, fuck's sake. Here we go. So when you left basic training and you went to, was it phase 2? Where did you go and do your phase 2?
Went to Blandford Forum, right on the south coast, Dorset. Spent just short of a year there, really, and did the basic, the phase 2 training. So I wanted to go down as a technician, as most people who join the signals when they first go to basic, they do, because what comes with a technician is an automatic promotion once you're qualified. So you go straight to Lance Corporal, and with Lance Corporal you go from low pay band. Not sure about pay bands now, but at the time it was low pay band to high pay band, and a lot of money basically. However, they soon talk you out of it when you get to Blandford, saying that if you don't pass it, then the trade that you could go to, which would be operator, won't be available. You'll be transferred out. All these different threats, if you like. And then look at it and say, look, this is going to be involved. What do you like at maths? There's lots of maths involved with it, especially in the first few weeks of the course and stuff like that. So I decided not to go on that course from my own doing, really, and I went on the operator course. And to be honest with you, that was probably one of the best decisions in my career. Was going to be an operator, because actually I found that once I leave there and I get my working unit and I earn my stripes that you get, that you're much more respected than a Lance Jack Tech, because they know a Lance Jack Tech's just straight out of the training. So with that comes a lot more respect, but also the trade itself. I absolutely loved being an operator. Not in the early years when it was Klansman, but when I went to Bowman, and I was going to talk about me career later on, but I ended up going to SFSG at one point, which is Special Forces Support Group, down in Wales, in St Athan, and from there it was all TACSTAT and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that side of it, and being like a tac signaller. So from that point of view, it was the right decision for me at the time. When I went through Blandford as well, I discovered I quite enjoyed triathlons. So I spent a lot of time, crazy as it is. I haven't always been 17 stone, let's put it that way. I enjoyed triathlons. I enjoyed cycling. I enjoyed swimming. I was getting up and I was going training in the pool at 6 o'clock in the morning. We used to be a minibus on, take you down to Bovey, go down to Bovington in the pool down there, and I started representing the regiment basically, and doing triathlons. So 11 Signal Regiment, I was representing them, and from that got me posting. So that got me my first posting, because they were getting all the triathletes to 7 Signal Regiment in Germany. So that's where my first posting come from, was me doing triathlons. And from there, I had like a tryout for the Great Britain team as well at one point, which wasn't a triathlon. I can't remember the right name, biathlon, decathlon. It's basically, it was run, swim, run, and I got into the finals of that. Unfortunately, I didn't get through, but on another day I might have. And it was just something I was really, really enjoying. I was, again, being down there, I was really enjoying the fitness side of life. It's not as strict as Phase 1. So Phase 2, you can go out and you can go down the town, you can have a couple of beers, you can get away at weekends and stuff like that. So I was enjoying that. I set myself a little business up in Blandford where I'd give people a lift home, but I'd charge them a little bit extra, but it wasn't as expensive as the train. So I used to say, look at 40 quid, and I'll get you in the weekend. We'll go Friday, we'll come back Sunday. I'll drop you off at home and bring you back Sunday. And I used to put four people in the car, and that used to cover me fuel, and I'd have a weekend on the piss at the same time with it, basically. So
it's a fucking hell of a long way to drive.
Oh yeah, it was a hell of a drive, like, but that was just part of it, and that was part of people down there. Lots of young people. There was people younger than me down there, and yeah, I just did that for a little bit, then just got
from memory.
Really.
Yeah, from memory, Blandford's not a bad camp, actually. I've been there a couple of times. Mainly we're doing tug of war with the army. We'd go down there for competitions. But I went away down on I can't remember what they called them, the old army net stuff.
Yeah.
The ACMS stuff on that. I had to go down there and do a course. So I drove all the way down from Albemarle Barracks, all the way down there the night before. Got there, went in with this, what was his name? Parker, I think his name was. He was a staff sergeant. Andy Parker, I think it was. Went in with him. He says, right, who's done this, that, and we've got to learn all this. And I went, I've done all that. And he looked at us and went, what? I said, yeah, I've done all that. I learned it all myself, done it. Been through all your stuff and done it. He shows your page. So I showed him the 39 Regiment ACMS page, or Army Net page. And he was like, there's no fucking point you being here, is there? I was like, no. So it was the shortest course I've ever been on. It lasted 30 minutes. I literally got in the car and drove home. I was like, nice one. But it's a long old fucking drive, that, like, Blandford.
It's a canny hike, like. It's definitely a canny hike. And then you've got Blandford Camp, you've got Blandford itself, and then, you've got to drive to go anywhere else, basically. You've got to drive up there to Salisbury, or, down to Bournemouth, or wherever you want to go, but it's not like in the middle of any major cities or anything like that.
No.
There was a few pubs. There was a few more pubs when I was younger, and used to live there. There used to be a nightclub called the G Spot. That was quite well known. £10 in as much as you can drink. So yeah, there was a nightclub there. I joined the boxing team while I was there, not through choice. Through my sergeant major, because I got into a scuffle in a nightclub, and he asked us if I thought I was hard, and I said I was. So we went, good lad. He says, you're on the boxing team now. And then I got battered in the boxing.
I was going to say a bit different.
So you know, I had, again, no bad memories from there. I got through it, and when I reflect back on it, I just think I played the game. You know,
Yeah.
just be here at this time, be 5 minutes early, press your kit, do what you need to do, make sure you pass all your trade tests, get through. It was just playing the game, and that's all I did there. I just played the game, got through, and I knew there was, you know, from the people I was doing triathlon with, I got really friendly with a guy called Martin Angus, and Martin was really good for me, like as a friend as well. He was a full screw coming up to a sergeant, and you know he's made friends with a recruit and myself, and I used to get invited around his house now and again for, you know, a bite to eat, which is always nice when you're a young lad, when you
Yeah.
recruit for someone inviting you around and looking after you and stuff like that. And then when I got to Germany, the night before I flew to Germany, me folks were panicking. I was up in the northeast. I had to get to Stansted the next day, and he phoned my mum and dad and said, "Don't worry, I'm picking him up tomorrow. He's coming round my house. He's going to have his tea. Then I've got his room key. I've got him sorted." And it was literally just a case of, after that, he took us to the camp, which was in Krefeld, and I already had a room and everything sorted. He'd done it all for us. So, you know, he was a good friend to me, and he still is. I still talk to him from time to time, and haven't seen him for years. You know, but
Yeah.
he's good memories. You know, and he was a good bloke, and he still is a good bloke.
So how did you find Germany then? I mean, you'd been doing all this phase, the triathlons and everything like that, and then you get out of Germany, everyone's like drinking.
Fucking day one, as soon as I got there, smashed.
Yeah.
No, when I got there, to be fair, it was Krefeld, and Krefeld is like, it's just outside of Dusseldorf, if no one's sure where it's at, and yeah, massive drinking culture, and I wasn't ready for it at all. You know, when I got there was half them were no man, the other half were on exercise. So I got there, it was like skeleton people, you know, skeleton crew.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they started coming back from the exercise and got to meet them, and hadn't obviously me proper first nights out and stuff like that, drinking apple corn and German lagers and stuff like that, where I thought, this is a big culture. And then sports afternoons, I soon found out what they were all about, and it certainly wasn't sport. You know, so yeah, so drinking there was a massive culture, and it was at the time as well where like September 11th was coming, and basically there was a lot. For no one, I don't want to sound racist or anything else like that, but there was lots of Turks in Germany, and they were very much Osama bin Laden fans. And you know, one incident that rings in my mind, especially, was in Krefeld, and I'd only been there about 2 months, and basically, we'd been in a nightclub and had come out. I was just with one of the guys. We'd come out, and there was a kebab shop in the corner, and we went in the kebab shop, and one of the guys from Middlesbrough, a guy called Scotty O'Neill, absolutely crazy, absolutely, honestly, just the life and soul of any parties, and he's still the same now. And basically, he was having a fight with a Turk, and he was just practicing wrestling moves on him, and he was giving you the commentary as he was doing it, you know, and everything else. And he was the Ultimate Warrior 1 minute, he was Hulk Hogan the next. You know, he was Shawn Michaels trying to kick him in the head and all this sort of stuff. Like, so we were just there. We met up with another guy who was with him, and we were just having a kebab and laughing at him. Basically, there was a young lass there from Durham as well, and we all went. That finished. We had our kebabs. Walked down. There was a taxi waiting. Then about 20 of them come around the corner, and they weren't just using the fists like Scotty was. Let's put it that way. So I was in the back of the taxi. There was the lass that was with us. One of them had a whip, and they whipped her across the face. One of them had a knuckle duster. So one of the guys, Kiwi, obviously from down under, he ended up with staples in his head. Scotty ended up with a couple of black eyes. I was in the back of the taxi, and they were trying to get in. They had a knife, and they tried to stab my legs, and I just kicked them away. Luckily, never touched us with the knife or anything like that, but the fact that it was there.
Yeah.
And then they ran down the street, and when they got to the bottom of the street, they started chanting, "We love bin Laden, we love bin Laden." And so that was like a massive, like, where the fuck am I at right now? You know, what the hell's going on here? And it was just as, like I say, September 11th, the rise of the Taliban, and and stuff like that. So it was a massive culture shock. I don't think I went out for a while. I think I'd go to like the regimental bar, I'd go to my squadron bar, but I didn't venture downtown. I knew we were leaving Crayfeld as well, so I knew we were going to Bruggen. I knew RAF were moving out and we were going to take over RAF Bruggen, which became Javelin Barracks. And no, I didn't go out for a couple. I ended up doing craziness, but me OC squadron needed a babysitter one night. I ended up going babysitting for him. And then he kept phoning us will you babysit for us on Friday night? I was like, no, I fucking won't. I was a bit shocked for my mother's Christmas present. That was the only reason I did it. Kept phoning us, oh, you're a great babysitter. I was like, no, I'm all right, mate.
I mean, that thing with the Turks, I mean, to be fair, that's never changed. I mean, I got out of Germany in, 86? And every weekend we were fighting with the Turks down south.
Yeah.
It was like the GCP would be like, yeah, but as long as the Brits are fighting the Turks, they're not getting involved with anyone else. And they just let it go. As long as there was nothing, it was just fisticuffs and handbags at dawn type of thing. And there was never like metal bars or knuckle dusters or knives, something like that. Not that I ever seen anyway.
Yeah.
But we did get into quite a few scuffles with them. Quite a few. But it was, it was all part of growing up. Friday night, Saturday night, down into Ghost North, have a bit of a rock. And that's as it was. But I mean, I know later on, the Turks aren't really well thought of by the Germans. I don't care what anyone says. The fucking Germans hate them. And I had a weird thing where I was driving my car and I turned right into a street, and there was a family getting out the car on the left-hand side of us, and the kid ran across the street and hit the car. I mean, I was only doing like 3 miles an hour if that. I was turning the corner, and I thought, shit, I've just knocked the kid over. So we jumped out the car, looked down the side, there's no kid there. There's an imprint of it on the side of the car, like it's hadn't washed the car. And I was like, shit, where's this kid? Looked under the car, nothing. And then I seen them going into the house, and I tried banging on the door and saying, is he all right, and everything like that. They were just shooing me away. They didn't want nothing to do with us. They didn't speak German, they didn't speak English, So I thought, shit, what do I do? Do I go down and report it to the RMPs? Yeah, I better add. So I drove down into Holland Barracks and went to the RMP there and said, look, I just fucking ran a kid over, or the kid ran into me car. And they were like, oh, we don't know what to do. I said, is he all right? I said, yeah, but what they're like, they're going to sue us or whatever, or I don't know, just panic. And they says, right, hang on. So they went out the back and they got the General Civil guy out the back of the RMP station. He'd come out, like liaison officer type thing. And they said, explain to him what happened. And I just told him, and he just looked right. He goes, oh, to the Turks. I said, yeah. He goes, don't give a fuck. Turned around and walked off. I was like, all right, I've done my civic duty. Knocked the kid over and then admitted it. No one's going to do it. All right, fine. Yeah. So what was Bruggen like compared to Crayfeld then?
Different because it was on the Holland border. Basically, It was right on Holland border, and literally, that was the night out. They went from being Crayfeld and Dusseldorf into Romond, and what we saw straight away was an increase in CDT team, and guys getting kicked out left, right, and centre because they could walk into Holland and smoke, basically.
Yeah.
So we lost a few. We lost a few quite quickly as well, who'd gone in, had a joint, and CDT come. And once CDT starts getting a bit of success, they're like a dog with a bone. They're always there. So we saw that. The camp itself was absolutely enormous. They brought like 2 regiments inside the camp. Then they brought an independent signal squadron in as well, and it was absolutely huge. And they were ploughing money into it. Piers Udine came in. All that sort of stuff came in. They were putting go-kart tracks in. Most of the buildings were derelict, and they were trying to do them up. They redid the swimming pool, so there was a swimming pool on camp for the summer, which was cushy, and that's where I did my PTI's course as well while I was there. So I went up to Senelag, did my PTI's course, did that, and they said, oh, we need lifeguards. I said, oh, I'll do the lifeguard course. So because I knew that it gets off RSM's parades, because you always need a lifeguard on a Monday morning. So I went and did all that while I was there, and then managed to get married while I was there at the same time. So and we got married in GHQ. Wasn't that far away, to be fair. And our wedding in Germany was literally about 300 squaddies. So my squadron came, my wife's squadron came. Our wedding was, we were going to get married in the golf, basically Bruggen had a golf club on camp. So the 18-hole golf course, it was that big, as well as 2 regiments and everything else that was in there.
Yeah.
So we booked the golf club for the wedding reception, and we were going to GHQ, all sorted, GHQ, wedding, back to camp, down there, and he sold it, and he says, we'll put this massive marquee up. And everything you can think of with a wedding, table designs, everything, wedding cake was all on this guy. Me and my best man went down 10 o'clock in the morning on the day of the wedding, no marquee up, no tables, nothing. And walked in, he says, I was trying to phone you last night, mate. He says, sorry, we're double booked. You can't have your wedding. I says, you joke, mate? And he says, I get married in 4 hours. He says, try going here. So give us this other one, this other venue.
Fucking hell.
We quickly whizzed around this other venue, and luckily my best man was half German, so he spoke the lingo, and we sorted out the best we could, but it was never what we wanted. Obviously got married, and we ended up going there. 300 squaddies invaded the place. They put the food on and everything. Tried to bring us the bill at the end of the night. I says, I'm not paying. I says, I've paid that guy. He told me to come here. He's paying. You're like, all right, we'll get all of him. Never got a wedding cake. So the wedding cake that we had, that he said he'd made, he never did. He put 200 euros to our door 2 days later, then absconded. Did a run with the money from the golf club, including all the money we paid for our wedding. It was actually quite funny because obviously my sergeant major and everyone was down when we were getting married on the day, and he put 50 euros in my card, and I said, "Because there's any chance you can now use your divine influence as the sergeant major and see if you can get my wedding cake down here?" And he was like, I says, I'll phone the RSM, I'll send the RSM down for it. So he was on the phone to the golf club, he was shouting and screaming at them, then he was on the phone to the RSM, and then he says, it's going to be here, Andy, half an hour, it's going to be here. I says, can I stay? I says, I haven't even paid for the room yet in the hotel in Romond. He says, I'll sort it. He says, so he got the duty driver out, and he basically got the duty driver and gave one of the lads his bank card. He says, go and pay for the room for them, like that. So they come back. What the lad come over is, he says, Andy, I've sorted your read out, mate. I says, why? What have you done? He says, you know that standard size room you had? I says, he says, I've just upgraded you on his bank card to the bridal suite. So he'd upgraded us, and obviously this room was absolutely enormous, right? And I was that drunk, I didn't even realise there was a minibar until the next morning. So I guess the next morning I started hitting the minibar. Goes downstairs to check out. Goes downstairs to check out. He says, oh, there's your bill from the minibar. I goes, all right. I says, can you charge it that card that paid for the room? She goes, aye. I says, put it on that for us. So she charged that on his card as well. So thanks for that, mate. I thought we never got like wedding cake out like that, but I did get taken to court because he hadn't paid, so he'd done a runner. So German law is different to our law. So he wasn't in the UK. He'd been classed as an agent. But in Germany, that's not the law. So I had to go and get a German solicitor with my OC squadron, and my OC was brilliant with us all the way through and that. And she just said, look, just pay up, because you'll just get taken to court and you'll get creamed, basically. So I was like, all right, no bother. And so yeah, we paid up. My mum and dad helped us out, sent some money over to pay for it because we'd already obviously getting loans out to pay for a wedding and everything, and then he'd done a runner with the money and that.
Did they ever get him?
No, never ever, never seen him since. So some of the lads who drove the canner, which was like the big fuel truck on camp, they wanted to go down and burn the golf club down and shit like that. So I had to call a halt to that. But no, he was never arrested or anything like that. It was just I paid the bill and that was it. That was the end of it. And
But at least you'll never forget it, will you?
Oh no, it's definitely a good talking point. Yeah, but no, so yeah, 7-6 Bruggen, Krefeld Bruggen was class. Absolutely loved it. I did Kosovo while I was there. I did Iraq while I was there. I did Cyprus, Lion Sun. Went all over the place. Went down to Switzerland. Did the Bern marches, which was different. Just round Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland.
Yeah.
Bunch of us went down there, did that. That was awesome. You know, so loads of good lads there as well, and lasses. You know, it was a real good group, and really enjoyed it. And then, but obviously in the signals, your time comes to an end, you get posted and you move on, and that's what I did. But I wanted to stay in Germany, so I got offered a posting in Cyprus actually, in the gym, but there wasn't we'd just been married, so I asked for a space for my wife, and unfortunately, the adjutant of the regiment was also me OC from basic training, and she didn't have a very good opinion of us. So she called a halt to that and said there was no spaces, which I know is bullshit. And that's fine. You know, that's fine. Not going to get upset about that or out like that. But stayed in Germany, went up to Hereford, and we were up Hereford out, and it was all right. When we lived a bit out of the camp in Hereford, we lived in a place called Bunde, which was a bit out of the way, but we weren't there that long. We were only there about a year, if that. But again, lovely place, and really enjoyed Bunde, enjoyed Hereford, enjoyed Wandiv. But then me trouble started a little bit then, because they posted us back to the UK, and I've got to be honest, like I wasn't ready for what the UK had, and the way they were. So I got posted to Bulford, and I've got to be honest, like I wasn't ready for what was coming at all. I'd found in like Germany, the seniors really looked after you, you know, and it was very much like a family culture. You know, no one went home, everyone stayed, obviously, because you're abroad. And I loved that. And the first weekend I was there, I went down the bar. We had like little ones at the time. I think we had 2 kids at the time. My oldest 2, obviously, and we went down to the bar and walked in on a Friday night. I was like, where the fuck's everyone at? Oh, they've all gone home. I was like, they've gone home? What have they gone home for? Oh, they do it every week, Andy. I was like, you're joking. I couldn't get over it. Like, they've gone home. That's fucking boring. And and then the senior NCOs as well. I soon found out there was a total difference between a senior NCO that looked after you in Germany and a senior NCO in Bulford, in the unit I was in. I found them very, very spineless. Didn't look after the guys at all, and I was shocked. I was really shocked. I got charged quite quickly. So it brought this AGI 67 in, where they give you extra duties and stuff like that. And I got Easter guard. So we got there just before Christmas. I started in the January and come Easter. Basically, I put myself on 2 courses because they said career development, go and put yourself on courses. I was like, all right, no bother. So I went and put myself on these 2 courses. And I was on the first one, and they phoned us up and said, why are you on that course? I said, because you said go and do career development, so I'm on the course. Or your class 1 entrance exam. So on the signals, you have to do an entrance exam again, your class 1. Your class 1 entrance exam's next week, and you're supposed to be on the crammer this week. I was like, well, no one told us that. You know, I didn't know I was on that or anything. So he says, finish what you're on now, and then don't go on, and this is what they said to us, don't go on that second course, we'll sort it, get yourself back to camp. I was like, all right, and this was my troop OC. And I was like, all right, sir, no bother. So I did exactly what he told us to do. And so came back, did my class 1 entrance exam. About 2 weeks later, I gets called in by the sergeant major, and he was just spineless as they come. And he called us and he said, you didn't show up for this course. I said, oh, my troop OC told us not to go. I told him the story. He said, you're lying. I said, I'm not lying. He says, yeah, you're lying. I said, no, I'm not. So he called troop OC in, and troop OC went, I never said that. I went, you fucking bastard. So I threw it straight under the bus. I ended up going back in the troop office with him. Troop staff sergeant was there, and you know, he was an all right bloke, but again, I wasn't that keen. And I had a massive argument with both of them, and I said, you're just throwing us right under the bus. I says, you know, what now? He said, there's your AGI, sign it. And so I got 5 extras on Easter leave, basically. And that was 5 works parades, actually. So a morning was counted as a works parade, an afternoon. So I had 2.5 days over Easter weekend of works parades, which just broke us. And I thought, I didn't want this shit. So I signed off. Signed back on. A couple of weeks later, they promised us the world, as they do.
As they do, yeah.
Yeah. Waited another month, no change. So I signed off again. They said, we're not letting you back in this time. You're yeah, you're off, like. I says, all right, no bother. Ended up going to they moved as troops because I'd had that interaction with him. They moved us to a different troop. So I went in with the other troop. The second lieutenant there, I think she was called Shipley. She said, what's the crap with the sign off? And I says, oh, you can rip it up if you want. She went, oh, all right, I'll rip it up. So she ripped it up in front of us. But it was before technology. It was when you used to sign everything and that. And so I ended up getting promoted that year. So it was the bane of their life, absolutely bane of their life. So because I come from Germany, I'd come second in the regiment as a lance corporal. And I'd come from a div. So it was bang on that I was going to get promoted, and they were fuming about it. So when the signal come through for who'd been promoted, I got selected for promotion. The 2IC squadron told us that I'll never ever wear it. He says, I'll make it my mission in life that you never get that. That's what he told us 1-to-1, but he would never admit that in front of everyone.
You see, I don't understand these fuckers.
Yeah, fucking.
You know,
honestly,
I know what you what you're saying about.
And mine didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is that, but I mean, what you're going back to saying about the difference between Germany and the UK serving. It's two very different armies.
Oh,
and you're right. I always found that in the UK, people are more worried about their career. You know, everyone in Germany's fucking there and they're having a laugh and they're enjoying it, and they're not that worried about everything else because it is like a big family, and everyone is close and it's close knit and everything like that. But I mean, I've never worked with roll signals, so I don't know what the kind of structure of the squadrons are and how they interact. Because in the artillery it's very different. It's like another army almost. But you do, I've ended up in places where my face didn't fit, and I didn't give a fuck, to be honest. But it happens. But you upset the wrong person, and they've got their hand in the pocket of somebody else, and that's it. But I mean, that can happen in any aspect of life anyway. It's not just the army. It can happen anywhere. But yeah, it is a very, very different army.
Yeah,
and I
found out very quickly.
Plus all the money you lose as well when you come back to the UK.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, you're like, it was cheaper to be out there. Everything was cheap, and you were getting more.
Cheap fuel and everything else. But I saw basically when I got selected in that, I knew that some of the seniors were going off to Bosnia, and it wasn't very many of them, and a few from the troops that were going to Bosnia. I was like, I'll just wait for them to go before I see out. And so they all went, and I'd been moved troops. I actually had a new troop sergeant come in who was sound as a pound. And he says, what can I do? Can I do anything for you? Like, he was asking the lads, and I was like, is there any chance I can have an RCMO's interview? And he was like, yeah, why? He says, just because I got selected for promotion, I like know what's going on with it. He says, I know him. He says, I'll put it in for you, no bother. I was like, oh, mint. And next thing I know, I get a phone call saying, come down to the troop. Basically, my third had just been born, my third kid. And come down to the troop, RCMO's in, he wants to have a word with you. And this was like first thing in the morning. So I was on paternity leave at the time. And so I went down. RCMO was there. He was from Sunderland. And he went, Courtesy, I've just gotten back from Glasgow. I've just flew first thing this morning. He says, basically, you should have been promoted a week after the board came out. So they'd withheld it somehow. And he says, yeah, you should have been wearing that a week after the selection. He says, you came that high in it. He says, you should have been wearing it. He says, I'll go and tell the 2IC now. Right. I was like, all right. He says, do you want to come over with us? I says, I'll come over with you. No. So he goes in, knocks on the door, goes in and all that. He's like, Courtesy, just come in. And like that. This is the RCMO, so I'm stood there with the biggest smile on my face in the world and all that. He says, just come down from Glasgow. Corporal C should have been promoted a week after. He's a full corporal now. Blah, blah, blah. And everything else. And his face just dropped but he couldn't see out because it was the RCMO was there. And he's like, okay, congratulations and all this. And I was like, thank you very much. Shook his hand and everything. And he's like, should we get the squadron on parades? And, I'll hand it over to you like that. I says, no, I don't want to put you through that. I says, it's fine. I'd just like to go back and paternity leave and see my newborn baby, please. And he went, okay, congratulations. I'll see you when you come back to work. And I was fucking chuckling at myself all hour, like. So
I'd have had him on parade, mate.
So that happened, but then because I've been promoted, they had to throw it straight at me class 1 because I can't get promoted again unless I'm class 1 tradesman. Yeah. So he sent us on my class 1 and went about a week before my class 1 finished, like a couple of weeks before, I bumped into one of the lads. He says, Andy, he's sending you to the training wing. I says, send me to the training wing. I says, what for? He says, I says, I've heard them talking in the troop, you're going to the training wing, mate. I was like, all right, no bother. So I thought I'd give it a week. So I give it a week, and I phoned my troop up. I says, just wondering what's in store for us when I come back from my class 1. They were like, oh, you're going to training wing? I says, I'm going to training wing. I said, what am I going there for? Career development. I says, all right. I've heard career development around here before, like. And I says, all right, no bother. I says, I'll phone the training wing up. So I phoned the training wing up. Got all this second lieutenant called Rob Fell, and basically he was getting kicked out of the army because he'd been a bit of a bad lad. So basically, he says, what quals you got? I says, PTI. And he went, what military quals you got? I says, fuck all. I says, I'll be class 1 in a couple of weeks when I finish there. And I says, PTI. And I says, that's it. He says, all right. He says, I don't really know why they're sending you here. I said, all right. And they were adamant I was going, so off I went down the training wing. And they sent us away I was pretty much that whole year I was away. I did skilled arms, I did BCDT, CBRN, drill, everything. I did it. Come back, it was about Christmas time, and I had access, because I went to training, I had access to everything. I thought, I wonder what they've got in store for me next year. So I went on and logged on and had a look, and they had us going to Afghan. And so they sent us away on courses all year, and then they were sending us straight out to Afghan. So I let Christmas get out the way, then I told the wife, and I said, look, they send us away again this year, I'm going to Afghan. So I had pretty much a newborn baby, going to me class 1, courses all year, and then straight out Afghan, like. And but me training was in Ireland as well, so I was away 6 weeks before I deployed in Ireland.
Yeah.
So I was attached to a unit out there. But the guy in the training, he was getting kicked out because basically in his previous unit, he was getting it on with one of his juniors, one of the junior ranks, a young girl, and one of the officers in the mess was says, I'm going to sprag you in and everything else. We spragged him in, and obviously he got in trouble with the colonel and all the rest of it. So they deployed to Afghan. So when he went to Afghan, he went and got his car keys and filled his car full of fuel and drove it as far east on a full tank of fuel as he could get it. He managed to get it to central Romania, and so he got the train back from central Romania, right? He got an envelope, and he put the car keys in an envelope, and an AA auto route from the barracks to where his car was, and then an AA auto route from where he was in Kabul to where his car was, and sent them off from him. He was on tour. that's where your car is, mate. So he got kicked out in the end, like. But when he tells that story, it was bad laughing, like. Bad laughing, like.
That's a good one. That's a fucking class one, now.
So
I wonder if it went for his car.
I don't know what happened to his car, to be fair. It's just, I remember him telling us the story. But after that, I was in Afghan. I started my own post now, really. I got on really well again with them, like with the seniors and everything in Afghan. It was all signals. It was a small knit group.
Yeah.
So I started myself a post out to Blandford as an instructor. So I went down there, spent 18 months there just because I wanted a bit of family life, because I hadn't had anything for 2 years. And spent 18 months down there. Then they posted us. They brought in this thing called Royal Signals Infantry Support Team, and they posted us to the 1st Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, SFSG in South Wales, which was a bit of a, I wouldn't say a culture shock, like, but I thought, you know the reputation of the Para Reg, and it very much came to the forefront very, very quickly. When I was there, like day one, we all went in with the training, the signals warrant officer. And he was like, right, he says, you're power trained, use 3 when you're doing the course. I said, I'm not fucking doing the course, mate. He says, excuse me? I said, I'm not doing the course. I'm not jumping out of an airplane. He says, I'm in my early 30s. I said, I'm jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. He's like, well, what are you doing here? I says, good question. I says, you can send us back if you want. And he said, no. So they threw us in the crypto cell for a bit. And then I started teaching the young'uns radios that were coming from depot into the regiment. Which was mint, to be fair, so I had a good year there. I remember when we first got there, because it was all new, these 5 signals guys coming into the signals platoon and that, it was all new. So when we got there, he organised it was supposed to be a barbecue, it ended up being a hog roast around his house. And when we first got there, it was like 5 signals in one corner, Power Edge dominated like the rest of his garden. As the beer started flowing, we started edging closer and closer. And started talking. There was this guy from Birmingham, Power Edge guy, called Lee Stewart Stevens, SS. What a great guy. Private. And he comes up, he says, Amy, I says, can I ask you a question? I says, aye. He says, what have you done wrong? I says, what have I done wrong? He says, everyone in Signals platoon has done something wrong. I says, all right. I says, what have you done? He says, I kicked fuck out of my platoon sergeant. I was like, all right. He says, you see that lad over there? I says, aye. He says, he's getting done for raping his cousin. I was like, right. I was like, he says, you see them two over there? He says, they're getting done for JPA fraud. They brought the new system in JPA to put your claims in there. I was like, oh, fucking hell. I says, right. He says, aye. He says, they've all done something. So I had a few more beers and I got talking to the two lads with the fraud and that. And one of them was from Newcastle, actually. And I went to him, I says, what have you done? He says, oh, we put claims in. I says, oh, I says, how much did you claim? He says, oh, I claimed £7,000. So I says, the other one, I says, how much did you claim? He says, I claimed £21,000. I was like, what on earth have you claimed for? He says, oh, we claimed for being in Oman. I says, how long were you in Oman for? He says, never fucking been, mate.
I shouldn't laugh.
Never been. So one of them got busted and posted out to another para-reg, and the other one got kicked out actually and left. But it was a good posting. But again, I wasn't there that long. My dad was bad in the northeast, so I wanted to get back to the northeast. So I put in for compassionate post and actually got it, and got sent up to Catterick. But they wanted to keep us in that infantry landscape for some reason. So they sent us the Bowman training team, which was awesome. I was the only full screw there. They're all sergeants and above, so I had no duties, nothing. Just, when they were going away, it was 4-star hotels. So I'd go and stay in the 4-star hotel. They knock off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They go in the sauna and in the swimming pool and the gym, and they had theme nights booked in the bars, in the restaurants, in the hotels and stuff like that. So one theme night was stir fry, one was a pizza. Teach you how to make it all properly, then off you go. There's the ingredients, crack on, make what you want. So we're doing that sort of stuff. But it was closing down. That whole unit was going. So they give us. I thought I was going to Scots Guards. I thought I was going to one Scots Guards, but they actually sent us to one Mercian, and I just didn't fit at all. Like, it just wasn't for me. Didn't enjoy it from day one, from walking in. My wife was heavily pregnant with my fourth kid, and I said to them, we just had Christmas and they were due to go to Kenya. And I just said, I says, look, can I miss this one? I says, because they're getting ready for deployment to Afghan later in the year.
Yeah.
I says, I've got no problem doing any of the rest of the training. I says, my wife's heavily pregnant. She's struggling at the moment. Can I stay at home? And they said no. Basically, no, you're going. So the night before, we had to be at work at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. Yeah, the bus wasn't leaving until 7 o'clock the next morning. So there, I was getting text messages, I'm in pain, I'm this, and I couldn't leave. So I called them. I called me platoon OC first thing in the morning. I said, look, my wife's in shit state. Like, is there any chance I can miss this, and not go? And luckily, one of the clerks, one of the stamp lickers was there, and she heard what I was saying, and she's all getting on a flight Friday. So they took us off it, that flight, and I still don't know what his major problem was around it. I got put in front of the Sergeant Major that day, been up all night in front of the Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major put us in front of the OC company, and the OC company was very good. He was very empathetic, and he just said, I don't understand why they were sending you. He says, why do I not know about this? I says, I don't know, sir. I says, obviously, I made my chain of command aware. And he went, okay. And it was during that time, he says, you're not going. Basically, you just stay back and do real details and sort your wife and that out. And it was during that time we actually had a chance just to sit down and have a chat. And it was like, it's going to be another kid where you don't see them grow up for the first 4 or 5 years. And you've missed that with all the rest of them. So, what do you want to do? So I decided, right, I'm gonna sign off. And I signed off. And on my 13-year point. And when they come back from Kenya, they kicked us out the regiment. Said I was a disgrace. I was a disgrace to the Mercian Regiment. I was a disgrace to the Royal Signals. I was a disgrace to the British Army. To get out and don't come back. And I was like, where do you want us to go? I said, try going fucking home. I went, all right, I'll go home, no problem. So off I went home. I was there a few weeks, down Tesco's one day, and I bumped into my old Sergeant Major from when I was at Blandford as an instructor. And he's had a bit of stubble, and he's like, what's going on? So I told him, he says, you're going to get in so much shit. He says, if you don't go somewhere else, I says, well, where can I go? And he says, I'll sort it out. And so they took us up to 204 SIGs, which was the unit he was at. It was a signals unit in Catterick. He gives a phone call. He's like, Andy, come up here. Tomorrow, you need to go and see the 2IC squadron. I was like, right, no bother. So I went to see the 2IC squadron, and I says, so I made W2 DH told us to come and see you. Explain everything. She went, you're him, and yeah, from the Mercians. I went, I'm him from the Mercians. She went, you're him that's been kicked out of the Mercians. I went, yeah, I am, yeah. She went, okay, come with me. She stood us outside the RSM's office, and I heard her go into the RSM, and she said, that lad from the Mercians is here. And she went, he goes, okay, 2IC, send him in. So she come out to us and she said, go in there, and I suggest you march in. And I'm like, all right. So I started marching. I got to the door, looked at the name on the door, W01, RSM, Dad's Kid, and I was like, I'm not marching in front of Dad's Kid, like. So I was popping in and I went, all right, Dad. And he went, Andy, what you doing here, mate? I says, I'm the lad from the Mercians. He went, right, sit yourself down, 2IC, 2 coffees, both NATO, please. And our face just dropped. And he was sound as a pound with us. And he was like, just what's the crack? And I was telling him, I said, signed off, blah, blah, blah. And he said to us, he says, look there. He says, I'll do a deal with you. He says, you help us with all the ranges, all the military training before we deploy. When we go in September, you go. And I was like, all right, deal. He says, don't take any leave. Keep all your leave and everything else. When we go, you go. And he stuck to his word. And a week before they deployed, I dekitted. And then I was off until I was out. And I was out in the January. January the 26th, to be exact. 2013. And that was it. It was over. And I don't know if I was gutted. I think my biggest mistake was the infantry. Going to the infantry. If my dad hadn't been the way he was and I'd seen out one para, I think it would have been a different kettle of fish. But the fact that they wanted to send us to another infantry unit was a massive issue for me, because I didn't want to go to an infantry unit. You know, I'd seen me, and I was jumping then, so I'd done like 18 months in Blandford, a year at one para, being there, Bortag North for 6 months. Then it was, I felt like I was jumping every now and again, and I wasn't getting a full time for reporting periods and stuff like that on us. So I felt as though I was jumping, and so it was just done, and I came out and had the massive shock of Civvy Street, really.
I mean, you going on for like nearly 4 months and just sitting it on. A similar thing happened to me.
It was 4 weeks.
No, I mean, like from them saying you can go to you actually getting out.
Yeah.
From the September to the January and that. Similar thing happened to me. I went off and done me. I extended, so I did like 27 years in the end. Only got a full script now, no special or like that. But I got offered a job when I got a posting back from Germany to the UK, like on compassionate grounds for my brother-in-law, and got put in a regiment that I wasn't trained on the launchers or anything like that. We'd been gone to Bowman this to like Klansman, which I loved. Going back to Klansman, it was fucking great. I loved it. Fix stuff on them. And I got offered a job in the RCMO's office for 6 months, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." Then you can find another job for me, because I've only got a couple of years left there. And I ended up doing that for 6 years. I went through like 4 RCMOs and stuff like that, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it for various reasons. One, that nobody could touch me, and there's the other one. It was great. But I went off and done me. I handed over my job to someone else. A new RCMO came in and stuff like that. And then I went off and done my pre-release courses. Come back in the June. And I wasn't due out until November. And I said, right, I'm back. What do you want me to do? And they just went, go on. Nothing for you. If we need you, we'll shout you. Just go on. Yeah. You keep when you got to and go on. And I was like, right. So I went on. And that was it. That was like the end of my career. Even though I was still living on camp, still surrounded by everyone, still got the bar every now and again and stuff like that. But there was no fanfare. There was no, I didn't have a leave and do or anything like that. And I found it a bit shit. And it as it turns out, it probably affected me later on, that when you go to leave the army and you don't have a finality to it, like the door didn't close. It was more or less just ushered through it and fucked off. You know, there's no final outcome of it or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's shit. You know, and I didn't feel as though I was helped in any way. You know, I didn't know about fucking life outside the army, really, to be honest. You know, I spoke to guys on this podcast when he was on about when he left the army for a few years. He didn't know how to insure his car or fuck all. You know, because he was in the army. He didn't know how to do stuff like that. He didn't need to. You know, his insurance ran out and they said, you can't need reinsurance. I thought you only insured it once, stuff like that. Might have been a bit naive, but, you know, and I wasn't ready for Civvy Street. I really wasn't. I wasn't ready for civvies, in reality.
I was
you know, that type of thing.
But you know, when I was getting out now, when I signed up, like, obviously you used to call it the 7 clicks to freedom, but there was still a process that you had to go through. You still had to have, like, platoon commander's interview, platoon company commander's interview. I had none of that, not one. You know, and I said to them when I was at the signature room, I've had no interviews. I said, you don't need them. I said, I think I do, like. And when it came to, you know, that letter you get with your service and they write your letter and sign and everything at the bottom, I read that.
Yeah, I wrote mine.
They didn't write that. I wrote that, and I think that's so wrong, because they said, "Oh, we'll change the grammar on it." Nothing was changed, because I kept the original and I compared them, and it was exactly the same word for word. You know, and my transition was because I didn't take any leave and stuff like that. You know, I did a few courses with the education centre and stuff like that, and I decided that my resettlement course, I was going to do telecoms, and I was getting a bit fed up with telecoms, so I went and actually did photography down in Bournemouth for 2 weeks, and that's what I spent my resettlement money on. I thought I'll just go and do something I enjoy, and I bought a camera, and I was doing like a bit of moonlighting, just come towards the end and stuff like that. So I went off and did that, but when I got to September, I got offered a job as well. So I got offered a job with BT Openreach, and I thought, I'll take that, because I just wanted to see I had a job. Obviously, I had, like, you know, a wife, 4 children. I just wanted something in place to say, yeah, look, we've got money coming in, and so I went and did that, and I wasn't ready for that at all. No chance. I mean, I think I was there 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, and they took you through the training bit, then they handed you to, like, these managers who had all these teams and everything else. And I still do. I live in Peterlee, and I got up one day and put my terminal on, and they were sending us to Redcar. So I phoned them up and I says, "Yeah," I says, "send us to Redcar today." He says, "Yeah, no." I says, "What the fuck you send us to Redcar for?" He says, "Why?" He says, "You'll go where I tell you to go." I says, "You what?" He says, "You'll go where I tell you to go." I says, "Hey, mate." I says, "I used to think Redcar was abroad when I was a kid because it was that far away." And he was like, "You're going to Redcar." I was like, "All right, I'll go to Redcar. Nee bother." So every job at Redcar, I brushed it off. I didn't do any of them. And I was like, they sent us, I think one of them was like W.H. Smith's or something like that. I put this phone line in. I went to W.H. Smith, says, "Can I see your asbestos register?" And they went, "We haven't got one." I said, "Oh, I can't drill on the wall. Sorry, you'll have to wait." So I sent that one back. Going to people's houses, I was like, "Nah, you need to move that out there, and I'll come back." I never came back. So about 7 or 8 jobs in a day, like, I just mugged them all off. Now I was just, like, pissed all day. I was just pissed, and I still very much had the military mindset, and so I phoned them up, and he was, like, shouting down the phone at us and everything else. I says, "Hey," I says, where you at?" He says, "I'm in State and Exchange." I says, "Oh, that's all right." I says, "I'll pass that on the way home." I says, "I'll be there in 10 minutes. So I says, "I'll see you then." So I walked in the office. Him and the other 2 managers were in there, and he just shit himself straight away. I threw a safety helmet at him. I said, "Put that on." He says, "What for?" I says, "Because you're going through a window, so you may as well be safe." And they all look, you what? I says, "You're going through a window, mate." I says, "It's fucking simple as that." Didn't help that we were 3 floors up. But that was my mentality. That was my mentality from the military. Because in the military, I'd have gotten away with that.
Yeah.
100%, I would have gotten away with talking to people and treating them like that, you know, and putting the fear of God in them. But they had a bit of a start on with that, so I got home and I said to the wife, I says, "I think I might be out of a job tomorrow." But no, I had a new manager coming in. She was called Jenny, and she was mint. And she phoned us up the next morning. She said, "Where you at?" I says, "I'm on this job here." She says, "I'm coming to see you." Came out to see us, and she just said, "Look, you're in on the military." She says, "We don't talk to people like that in the civvy street." and she was excellent with us, to be fair. So it was a massive learning curve, the whole mentality thing, the way you talk to people, the way, you know, and everything to do with it. It was, I just couldn't get my head around it for ages. You're talking about car tax there. I couldn't handle water rates. So I was getting these red letters from Northumbria Water and that, and I was like, you know, I phoned them up. I said, what's all this about? And they said, you got to pay for water. I said, you don't pay for water. He says, you do. I says, water comes out the fucking sky. You do not pay for water. And she went, you do pay for water. And in the end, it was my mother turned around to us and she said, you got to pay for water, son. But you didn't do that in the military, though, did you? You know, you and off your wages came your rent, your chill out, and, you know, in some cases, when I was in Bulford, gas and electric came off. When I was in Germany, gas and electric came off. And so I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that at all. I don't think I had a good transition to go into it. But I stayed at Open Reach. I had a couple of injuries during my time there, so I broke my foot on a treadmill. I was just running, and I broke my foot. So I was off work there for about 7 weeks, and then I was back about a year, and I was doing underground stuff, and basically my back just went. Couldn't move at all. Like, it was absolutely knacking. So I was off work for ages then. Then they found out I'd had to have MRIs and stuff, and they found out I had a sac of fluid in my spinal cord called a syrinx. And basically, if it bursts, it can paralyze us. But basically, and where it's at, they can't remove it. So it's literally inside my spinal cord, and it's in between my heart and my lungs, basically. So it's next to major organs. So they can't touch it. So I have to have like MRIs. I'm supposed to have one every year. I haven't had one since before COVID, but I've got one on the 1st of December. So that happened, and I just said, look, I can't do the job anymore. So they were like, in Open Reach, you can go for other jobs. You can go on like the special register if you're injured and stuff. And a job in the control in Newcastle came up, and my boss said, I'll sort it out. So they sent us up there, so I went up there, and it was great. It was office based. I was just on a computer all day, just telling engineers where to go, basically. And but that's when my mental health problems really started as well. And I'll be honest, like, I didn't have a clue what was going on. To this day, how I got through it, I don't know. It's hard to start with it. Like, it's quite hard hitting for myself just to talk about it. But basically, I used to work. We worked on a team of 4. There was two Pauls on my team. 2 guys really experienced, been there for years, and then me and a guy called Matty went in, and we made that team of 4 up. Matty's now an airline pilot, so stay away from EasyJet because that's who he flies for. No, good lad, you know, a really good lad. He had aspirations. He was a young lad. He was only in his early 20s, and so I was in there, and I remember one day I was in there, and my chest was tightening, and I was dizzy. I felt like I was going to pass out, and I had no idea what was going on. So they brought us home. To be fair, one of the managers, he drove us home. And then I remember that night just lying on the sofa, and I was like falling asleep. I was knackered, absolutely shattered, like. And then just out of nowhere, I just couldn't get my breath, and I just like shut off the sofa, couldn't grasp my breath at all. And again, my chest was tight as out. Thought I was having a heart attack at one point. Went to the doctors. I went to hospital that night, and went to hospital, and they were asking us like loads of questions about taking drugs, if I had like this going on, that going on. I was like, nah, none of that. And they said, right, I think it might be mental health. I was like, all right. And I didn't really know what was going on, but when I reflect back on it now, to the start of it, there was weeks before that I was having like really strong nightmares. And there was like 2 in particular. One was in Iraq and one was in Afghanistan that I was having. And when I was walking down the street, I was hallucinating. So I was having to like look twice, you know, when you look over and you think you see something, you look back and check it again.
Yeah.
That was happening to us, and it was if I was. It's hard for the political term, but if you like Taliban and what the dress that they used to wear, obviously in the military they get called dish dashers, and I know that's not the correct term for them, but I was having to look twice. Yeah, a lot of the time when I was over there, they were called that.
Yeah,
So I was like having to look twice, and so I'm reflecting back, all that was going on, and that was building up to it. So did a couple of appointments with the doctor, and I was going in there, and I just happened to mention to the doctor one day about my time in service, and she said, "Are you a veteran?" And I said, "No," and she said, "Have you served in the army?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You're a veteran." I says, "Okay," and she says, "I think you've got PTSD," and I left there in total denial, and I went, "No chance. She's talking shit." And got in the car. Wife was in the car, and I said, "PTSD, apparently." And she said, "What are you doing about it?" I said, "No, I'm doing absolutely nothing about it because there's no chance I've got PTSD." Total denial. And it sort of just continued on, and my wife pretty much begged us or forced us, whichever you like, to go and get some help. And I went and got the help, and they told us it was PTSD. And I got help off a charity called Veterans at Ease, and a guy called Gareth Morrell, who's over now in Gateshead area. They were in Durham at the time. So I ended with Gareth. It wasn't counselling with Gareth. It's NLP. It's called Neuro Logistic Programming, something like that. So I left there, and my troubles were continuing. I was learning more about it. That's the one thing about it. I was going out, and I had like a bit of education off Gareth, really, like psychoeducation into it and that. So I was learning about it, and then even after that, I was like going on YouTube, and I was watching videos and stuff like that, and I was learning coping mechanisms, and I was learning where I could go, how I could counteract it, and work was absolutely brilliant with us. I went in and I told me two team leaders first of all, and then I told the two managers that were in there and the senior manager, and they were class with us, absolutely mint. And they said, if there's anything you need, you just tell us, we sort it for you, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And then I had a run in with one of the managers, like nothing on my part really. Again, probably it was him, not me. But it was like there was a thing coming up. It was like a new shift pattern, and there was like 7 of us that went in for it, and 6 people got it apart from me. And so I just felt as though he had a massive problem with me, especially when COVID started and people working from home and that. I used to work from home because my dad's high risk. He's got Parkinson's, and he said no, but everyone else was a yes. So I ended up taking that to the senior manager and getting that approved. So yeah, I told them first, and then I'd moved teams. Then I wasn't on that team before. I was on a different team. I was looking after Scousers, all the engineers that were in Liverpool area. And I decided one day I want to tell the guys I work with, because it's not fair, because they see me just get up and leave basically, and that's what I was doing. So if I was having what you call like a panic attack, freeze, fight, flight, I'd get up, and the agreement was with the management that I could leave. I could go out and I could sort my shit out. And basically, I found out that one of the techniques was when you're walking and you're having a panic attack, in your mind you're walking away from the panic. And so that was really working for me. Listening to music was really working for me. So I would go out, put my headphones on, and I'd walk. And I'd walk around Newcastle Town Centre. I'd walk down the quayside. My daughter was in university, so she was there. She knew what was going on. I could go down and see her and stuff like that. And that really helped us. But I thought it's not fair on them because they don't know. So I told them, and again, they were mint. They were absolutely class. They came a lot more caring towards us, I found. And then, but I was still struggling. I was still like really, really struggling, and I went to combat stress. Basically, I went to combat stress, and I was with them. I got back to the doctors, and the doctor said, we're going to put you in. It wasn't Up Courage at the time. It was NHS Tills. And they put us through the Tills, and the guy came up, he booked a room in a place in Newcastle right next to where I worked. So I just had to go and see him there, did the assessment on us and that. And he says, we'll put you in with combat stress. And I was like, mint, no bother. Put us in combat stress. I went straight in the peer support program with a guy called Craig Douglas. Craig's ex-Fusilier. Got on with him really well, and I still do to this day. Really, really good lad. And I got put on with this with this psychologist called Andy, and we were working together all the way through, and we agreed for me to go to Scotland and work. It cleared it. They'd given us the time off. I was going up to Scotland on the rehab program. Then about 3 weeks before I was due to go, I got a letter through the door saying combat stress has lost all its funding, and we are discharging all veterans in England, and I was one of them. So I felt very much like dumped, on the dog heap, if you like, and I was like, where do I go now? And I was looking around, like, obviously I live in East Durham, and I was looking around East Durham, and I was like thinking, what the fuck's here for veterans? And there was nothing. So I started making a little bit of noise, and I did it wrongly, totally wrongly. I went on social media, and I aimed it towards my MP, a guy called Graham Morris, and I put a couple of posts on Twitter, and then I written him a letter, basically, and I sent a letter, and I didn't have a reply, so I put another post on, saying I've sent you a letter, you haven't replied to us, blah blah blah, and gets a phone call from their office manager, and he says the guy who deals with veterans is back in next week, can you hold off and have a chat with him? I went, all right. I said, I won't put anything else on social media, I'll hold off and have a chat with him. And work cleared it. I could go there and have the conversation, and I did. And there's a guy called Dave McKenna, who's now one of my best mates, and we sat down and we just talked talked my language, your language, and it was just fucking unbelievable conversation, where I said, I'd love to do this for veterans. He was like, yeah, well, I'm doing this for veterans, and what if we had this for veterans? What if we had that for veterans? And we left it. It was like, will you send us a friend request on Facebook? Here's my phone number. Here's my phone number. And we just got chatting and became friends. And then the weeks ahead, we started having more conversations about it. Like, what's the need? What is the need in the Northeast for veterans? And it was very clear that the need was mental health. There wasn't the correct provision there for mental health support. So at the grand old age of 38, I went back to college, and I decided to do a counselling course, and that was the start of it. And me and Dave kept talking, and then Dave was having these breakfast clubs at the Sea Cadets, and I was going along, and we created this crazy concept, this crazy idea that we were going to create a charity, and the charity was going to be called East Durham Veterans Trust, and people told us we were absolute lunatics. And it lied a lot on my head more than Dave's, because Dave had the things he was doing within the veteran community, but he was very supportive at the same time. And so we started the conversations. Then Dave introduced us to a guy called Kevin Shaw, who's local county councillor. Through him, I met Leanne Kennedy, another county councillor. And then we got Graham Morrison involved as well, the MP, who I'd basically tweeted about at the start, and they became the trustees. We all became trustees of East Durham Veterans, and we started putting plans in place. And it was just as COVID was starting. We had the constitution written, and we sent it off to the Charities Commission. During that time, I'm in my counselling course. Did my level 2, then did my level 3, then enrolled on the actual university course side of it. Come back, we got towards the end of my level 3, so you do level 2 was September to Christmas, then level 3 was Christmas to the summer. And from day 1 on level 2, I got on with this lass in there, and we became instant friends. And I decided to tell them what I was doing. I told the whole class what I was doing, and she goes, "Oh, my dad's a veteran." And so she actually works for us now, and she's been there since day 1, and that's Bonnie. So sold the concept of Bonnie quite quickly. Next thing I know, Bonnie's wanting to jump out of a perfectly good airplane to raise money for us, coming in as a volunteer, and then came on as a caseworker. We finished the counselling course, and she's now one of our counsellors. And from the day of getting charity status, we moved into Dordon Community Centre. had a lot of work to do. Decoration wise, we had nothing. You know, we got charity status on £1. We had nothing. We didn't have a computer. We didn't have a desk. I think there was one desk in there. We had nothing, absolutely nothing. And so for the first 6 months, it was like, can we get a grant for £500 and buy a computer? And you know, can we get this wall painted? Can we do this? Can we do that? And for the first 6 months, it was very, very quiet. And it wasn't until Christmas, then all of a sudden people were hearing about this charity and people starting to walk through the door. And since then, it's been absolutely, I'd love to see NCN. It's just been a roller coaster of a ride, and it's been absolutely amazing. And we've now got, you know, as well as Bonnie from the start, there's my wife Kelly who was there from the start as well. Obviously I mentioned Bonnie because I did the course with her and stuff like that, but you know, Kelly's very much the one who makes everything tick in the office and keeps an eye on everyone in the main part of the office and stuff like that. So then we soon brought Kelly Ann in, who was a counsellor. Me and Bonnie weren't qualified at that point, so we brought Kelly Ann in, and Kelly Ann's been with us a good few years now. And we've had some amazing times, some very, very, very difficult times. We have lost veterans to suicide. We've lost 3 this year. And that hits you hard, and that hits the staff very, very hard. You know, so when people see me coming out in videos talking about removing the stigma, asking for help, stuff like that, and I like to share my story now. I like to tell my story, because I just think if one person can hear my story, then that might convince them to remove that stigma and to come forward and ask for that help and get that help. And you know, some of the feedback we get is phenomenal, right? And I'll use a guy called David Shaw, and so David is a practitioner at Up Courage, and from the start, we've had a really good relationship with David, and he's always like banging the drum for us and stuff like that. And I had a conversation with him last week, and he said if it wasn't for East Durham Veterans, he says I would have lost a lot more veterans in the northeast of England. You know, and now we're very much the go-to people for Up Courage as well, coming in and supporting us. But it's not just about counselling. It's not just about it is about the mental health support, because what we discovered quite quickly is that there's lots of different aspects to mental health. Yes, the counselling is essential to what we do. And over the last 2 years, we've had over 400 through our counselling program. And at the start and at the finish, we ask them these questions, and that's where it's called the GAD-7 and a PHQ-9, the NHS documents basically. And from there, we can gather their progress, and we can see if someone's made really good progress, okay progress, and some very, very small instances if they've actually declined. And I'm pleased to see in over the last 2 years, with over 400 through, over 80% have shown either a significant or moderate improvement in mental health, which is our top 2 levels for measuring it. So that tells me we're doing good things. We've got a peer support program that runs every week, but what we brought in as well was 2 things which have been essential, and something we do on a daily basis now. And one of them is our social inclusion program. So we found a lot of veterans were staying at home and you know, just looking at the 4 walls and let the thoughts run away with themselves. So we brought the social inclusion program in. So we're at a point now where we've got something on for the veterans every day, like Monday to Saturday. There's something they can come in and do. Either they can come in Monday and do the allotment, or photography later on in the week. They can do the art hub that's been on tonight. You know, they can do walking groups. They can do Fun Day Friday. They can come in for coffee mornings. There's something on every day. And what we've found through them groups is basically friendships have been formed, and we see it, you know. And we've got 2 guys that I always talk about, and one's a para and one's artillery. And whoever thought a para reg and an artillery would become best of mates, and that's exactly what they are. And they look out for each other outside. They come into the hub together, and they still enjoy each other's company, and they also socialise with each other and look out for each other outside. You know, and that's just one instance. I can give more than that. But those are two guys that really come to mind, and we've got an array, if you like, of ages that come in. Our oldest veteran's 95 years old, and he's called First, and he was conscripted into the RAF. As a boy soldier, and he chose the RAF because basically he feels as though he was more handsome in an RAF uniform than an army uniform. So, but that's First, he's a great character. And then we also have like the holistic side. So people come in, this is the first thing we do, and we do this with the caseworkers, is like, what's going on in that person's life right now? Are they struggling with housing? Have they got food in the cupboard? Have they got fuel on the meter? Are they having problems with benefits? We can do benefits checks. We can help them with PIP claims. We can do armed forces compensations. We can help them with white goods. And this is like all the links we've built up with all these organisations, from your SAFAs to the likes of the Armed Forces Outreach Service in the North East, to Armed Forces Bikers, to Greg's, all these different places that help us out with different things. We've got relationships with them all. With Alan, he works for Vets UK. That's now in the Veterans Welfare Service. But, he'll help you with pensions and compensation claims. And we can just say, Alan, we've got a veteran down here. You'll say, fill that in, send it to us, and I'll come down and meet them. And they'll come down into our hub, where our caseworker will advocate alongside them to get the help and support that they need. So there's a lot going on there. The staff are mint at East Durham Veterans, and I love them to bits, because I asked them to do a lot of things, and people don't realise this, but I asked them to do a lot of things and not be paid for it, because we haven't got the money to pay them for it. So there's a lot of stuff goes on, like fundraisers and Armed Forces Day, where they come in and they don't get paid for that side of it, And obviously I've mentioned Kelly, and I've mentioned Bonnie and Kellyanne, but there's other stuff in there. The caseworkers are essential at what we do, and so often the unsung heroes. But it's them, by coming in and helping that person with housing, or helping that person with food and fuel poverty, where basically that side of it is building trust straight away. So that veteran and that veteran's family is getting trust in us as a service and what we can do for them. And also, once all that's cleared off, and the reason we ask them questions is that when they go into the counselling room, they're just focusing straight on what the issue is with the mental health, rather than little problems. Instead of going in there and saying, "Oh, I've got no food in the cupboard, I've got no food, I've got no fuel on my meters, I've got no gas, I've got no electric," all that sort of stuff. They can go in there and say, "Oh, I've got food in the cupboard, I've got I've got stuff in my meters. Thanks to the lasses next door who's done that. Now I want to talk about this, and let's start working on that issue." And that's very much it. And the biggest praise I can give to anyone at East Durham Veterans Trust would definitely be my wife Kelly, and basically she saved my life, first of all, and there'd be no East Durham Veterans Trust if it wasn't for her, because when I was in denial and I didn't want to go anywhere, she made us go there. And when I came home one day and said, "I'm going to charity and I'm going to call it East Durham Veterans Trust," when everyone else was laughing, she went, "Let's fucking do it, mate." Yeah. And she's been there from day one. And she's very much, she takes the term the long haired general now and again, because she looks after them all in the office as well. And then all the other lasses that are in there, and we've got a couple of lads in there now as well, as doing the drive and stuff. We've got volunteers that come in, and we've got people that just love it and come in. And when they come in, I tend to say to them, especially when they come in on Friday, "I'll make you very welcome. I'll bring you in. I'll sit you with the likes of Stewie, who's a talker, and stuff like that." I say, "However, the next time you come in, I want to rip the fucking piss right out of you." And they're like, yeah, nice one. Then they come in and I'll do it. And then they'll come back for a bit more the week after. And that's why we have so much banter in there, because then other people join in. So obviously, being Signals, I'm quite an easy target for them. The artillery lads, unfortunately, you might not want to hear it, is an easy target for a lot of them. The RAF are an easy target, and they tend to get hurt and wounded and not come back for months on end. But it is what it is, and that's banter, and that's the military way, and that's what we've created.
And that's what people are missing.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, from first-hand experience, I've dealt with your organisation, and as we spoke about beforehand, and I went through the Up Courage, and they passed me straight on to use.
Mm-hmm.
So I was quite shocked at, because it was so far away from me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that there wasn't so much around. I mean, near where I work, you've got Walking for Wounded and stuff like that, and maybe that's a different, they wouldn't have been able to help me, I suppose. But I didn't realise that there was so little out there at the moment. The big charities have folded, probably because they were paying people too much money. I don't know. Maybe that's political or not. Maybe I have spoke to and interviewed other guys who set up charities down on the south coast, places like that, and theirs folded because they couldn't get the backing, and they were getting money from the helps of combat stress, the RBL, and places like that. And then when the bigger ones have started folding and falling under because they've lost their charity status or they haven't got enough money or what, then they fold as well. So there's lots of things that were there that aren't anymore, and it's little places like yours and the places like that I know of over in Preston and various other places that are filling that gap. The NHS can't deal with it, or they're getting better than they were, with the Up Courage. I didn't expect it to get seen so quick.
Mm-hmm.
Once the doctor said to me, "You're going to Up Courage," I was like, "Am I?" He said, "Yeah." And within a week I had a phone assessment. And then a week after that, I had another phone assessment. And then a week after that, the guy from Up Courage came. And he came around my house.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and went, "I can't help you. I'll send you somewhere else." I says, "All right." And I thought, to be honest, for me, that'd give me the opportunity to tell my story to someone, to tell them how I was feeling, to get things off my chest. And I felt all right. I felt absolutely great. I thought, that's it. I don't need any more, probably. And then when he ended up down at your place, she rang us to give us a quick call on the phone. It would have been 20 minutes. We were on for nearly an hour. And then I went down and seen her. And we sat there and she asked me about, what was going on, this, that, and the other. And my mind went bush. I was saying things I didn't know I was going to say and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just helped so much. But again, it was the talking process, and again, we don't do it enough. Like, one of the reasons I do this podcast is to talk to people, because I don't get to see that many people. I live up in Northumberland, but I'm not from here. My family are in Hartlepool. Yes, I know. Yeah. I'm a monkey hanger, so what? I'm proud of it. I wouldn't move there, though. Wouldn't go back there. But it can be a lonely existence. And even though you've got friends at work and stuff like that, you've got the people in the pub, and the civvies, right? I'm not being derogatory to them, but they don't understand not the banter, but they don't understand our mentality, because we aren't normal people. I said to the doctor, when I seen her, I said, "Look, we're all veterans. We leave the army and we're fucked, because we're not normal. Most people, not everyone leaves the army is going to have mental health issues, and they're not going to go under or whatever. And for me, I lasted 12 years without realising there was something wrong, at a point. Other things happened to bring it on to me, but that's besides the point. I still had underlying issues that I hadn't dealt with, and I didn't think they were actually affecting me, but they were. They affected me in different ways, and I became almost a recluse in my own family, and that caused other issues, and it was splitting up and shit like that. But we're not normal people. We are. You can't get someone, train them, break them down, train them where they can quite willingly run into danger and, if necessarily, kill people, and then be normal. Even if you haven't seen combat, you've still got that ingrained in your head somewhere.
So
not everybody's a worry. Yeah.
If you go back to the start, what we talked about when you joined the army, I used a term called conditioning. Yeah. And it's very much an actual theory in the mental health world, and it's all about rats. And I think it was Skinner, a guy called Skinner who trained rats, basically. Yeah. And it was in the 1950s, and he put a rat in a box, and if the rat took a piece of food without pressing the button, the rat would get an electric shock. So he trained the rat to press the button and take the food, and it wouldn't get an electric shock. And that's your punisher in your reward. So the punisher for not pressing the button is the electric shock. The punisher for the reward for pressing the button is you could have a piece of food. Yeah, a squatty is exactly the same. Basic training is exactly the same as being you are a rat. Yeah, And it's true. So
It's
if you
true,
think,
yeah.
you think about being in the military, right, and you think about a regimental sergeant major's parade, okay, especially in a training unit where they come round, inspect you, yeah, you look good, move on to the next one. What's the reward for that? You get to stand still, then afterwards march back down to work and go on and do your daily jobs. Reward's very minimal. The punisher is massive. 1 PS3 in March, right turn, drilled off the square, embarrassed in front of your peers, put behind the guard for the week, restrictions of privileges, all the rest of it. That's a massive punisher. And that's what it's like. So when someone's coming to the end of their time in service, there's no conditioning, there's no transition. And I was in the Armed Forces Covenant conference talking about this, or listening to their opinion on it, the guy who writes the policies for the MOD a few weeks ago. And basically, he was telling me that transition was brilliant, and I disagreed with him because I don't think there's any. I think people who have had that conditioning, pardon me, during the military career are very, very scared to ask for help. They're very, very scared to come forward and say, yeah, I'm struggling with this. Yeah, I'm struggling with the housing. I'm struggling with food and fuel. I'm struggling with my mental health. I'm having thoughts because they're scared. They're scared that if they ask for that help, then what's the punisher associated with that? And they don't even know they're doing it. It's because it's subconsciously they've been punished that hard, and that's a big theory I've got on veterans and coming out, and I don't think the transition's great. And I'll be honest, I struggled with the transition, as have thousands and thousands of others, But this guy from the MOD who never served a day in the military was trying to tell me 3 or 4 weeks ago that transition was brilliant now. And thankfully there was a guy there who's the chairman of COBSUO called Lieutenant General Sir Nick Pope, and he gives some good feedback on his thoughts, should we say, but which was great. But yeah, a lot of it's to do with conditioning. And another thing I love about what I do with East Durham Veterans Trust is it's the mentality. And if you can have a certain mentality and you can lead from the front, then you can make others follow you and follow that mentality. So the mentality that I've got is a can-do attitude. Yeah, I hear it when we go to the big charities and they say, oh, when I was struggling and I was going to them and asking for things and stuff like that, it was like, no, don't do that here. No, go there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create this culture of a can-do. So everyone, we will help them the best we can. Yes, we get people who take the piss. Of course we do, because we've had those people in the military. But yes, we get the people who are extremely grateful for what we do with that attitude. And so we don't leave a veteran behind. If we can go out and help someone and help them get where they need to be, then we'll go and do that. There's lots of charities about, and you see it in the press all the time, and it's about money, and it's about status, and it's about awards, and it's all that. That's not the case with us. Yes, we've been to the Veterans Awards this year for the English Veterans Awards. We didn't win anything, but we had that experience to go in there, and it was a lovely evening. Yeah, but that's not what we're about. My reward is, I had a message after that rewards actually, from a guy called Major Paul Martin. Doc, he's from Newcastle. He's the family's liaison for the Fusilier Association, and he said to me, he says, you don't need them awards, Andy. He says, I've seen the work you do, and he says, I've been speaking to the secretary from the Rifles, and the only charity in the Northeast that will come to is East Durham Veterans Trust. And that was a massive boost for me, for him to say that to us. And then at the same time, I sent him a photo of two of his guys, 2 Fusiliers, who we'd had a few weeks before at Oktoberfest. And I sent him, I says, that's my reward, because I remember the day those 2 walked in. Yeah, and they didn't walk in at the same time, they walked in at different times. But I remember when they walked in, and we've worked with them. When they've needed help and support, we've been there. We've had that can-do attitude to help and support them and stuff like that. And the photo is these 2 guys with a massive smile on the face, with a stein each in the hands. And he's named them. I cannot name them, but their names he's used as an award. So he said, and the picture I sent him, he's printed out, and it's on the notice board inside the Tower of London now, where his office is. And just because the work we've done, so that's our from having that attitude, that can-do attitude of, yes, we can help them. So when they come in, can you help us with a PIP claim? Yes, we can. Yeah. And when we first started doing that, and the caseworkers had some case where it was like really strong boundaries, and they're like, we cannot do that, we cannot do that. I was like, right, I'm sending you on a course. You'll now go on a course, you're going to get trained on it, and come back and you'll do that. So that's what I started doing. Yeah, because I want them to have that can-do attitude. And when a problem comes up, they'll now come to us normally with a problem, but also a solution. And they'll say, this has come up, but because
they don't want to go on another course, that's why.
A few of them are on a course tomorrow for 2 days. So suicide awareness course that run tomorrow, 2 of them. So, but that just shows that from going is like, no, we cannot do that, to now the point is like, we've got this problem, this is happening. However, we could do this, and this to solve that, and that's meant, and that's the mentality we've got, and then the mentality is very much there of, we want to help people. We don't want to leave a veteran behind. At them veteran awards, there was the reservist of the year, I think. She got on stage, and she said this thing, and it really resonated with us. And she said, veterans, we look after you from the day you leave service to the day you die. And that's very much our ethos of, we're there 100%. And it's like I say, I keep using the word can do, because that's what we want. We want to help and support them. And and that's what we're all about. And you look at where we've come in 4 years, because we've only had charity status for 4 years. It was 17th of July 2020 that we got charity status. And in that 4 years, we've supported around about 900 veterans now, our veterans' family members, in that time. We've established what I believe is the best counselling service, not in the North East, but in the United Kingdom for veterans. And our results show that, that I've spoke about already, and the numbers associated. And, we've got a fantastic holistic program. We've got a fantastic social inclusion program. And then you look at the path we're on at the moment. And the path we're on is we're members of COBSUO. We're halfway through the accreditation with the Royal School of Psychiatry. And that's things that's going to come in the future once we pass that accreditation, and we will, because I've been working on it solidly for the last 2 days. We will pass that accreditation. We will get that. We're members of ASDIC, and the doors are open, and more people are hearing about East Durham Veterans, and they want to come in and be part of it. And I'll tell you what, everyone can be part of it, and just come in and just enjoy it. And sometimes it's just about, we have people coming in on a Friday. We call it Fun Day Friday, because we have woodwork, we have craft, we have model making on, and we give them a free dinner. We send the minibuses out, and the National Lottery paid for the minibus, so we could go out and buy a brand new minibus and pay wages and stuff like that for it. And some people come in on their minibuses, and they don't want to do woodwork, they don't want to do crafting, they don't want to do model making. They just want to sit there, have a brew, and listen. And when I talk about the can-do attitude, I'll tell you a quick story. It's this time last year, September last year, I get a phone call off this lady that I know of really well, and basically she's not a veteran, but she was working in a veterans program in a drug and alcohol service. And basically one of the guys who she supported said, can you help me mate out? He's struggling. And basically she'd left that service and she was going to a new job. Nothing to do with veterans. So she phoned me up and she said, Andy, you're the only person I trust with this. And she said, basically this guy, he's being discharged with multiple sclerosis, MS. Said he hasn't got a wheelchair fit for purpose. His mental health's on the floor. His family, he can't even go and watch his kid play football. He can't go out shopping because of the wheelchair and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, all right, no bother. And so basically I phoned them up and I arranged to go and see them. And I'll be honest, like, I got the front door and there was 2 engraved stones outside the front door. One was a Middlesbrough Football Club stone, and the other one was a Royal Artillery stone. I thought, this fucker deserves everything he gets, like. But anyway, so putting joking aside, I knocked on the door and I went in, and I found these 2 people who were just absolutely on the floor. And it's like the wheelchair was a major issue, and I sent him, and I was showing. I don't know if inspired is the right word. It probably is, because of what he was going through and how he was dealing with it. Even though he didn't feel like that, I still I still got this sense of inspiration from him, and he really drove us on. And so I said to him, and I made him a promise before I left. I says, I'm going to get you that wheelchair, right? And this is where the can-do attitude comes in. So I didn't know I was going to go for this wheelchair, by the way. I was like, where the fuck do I go for this? So I went to 3 big organisations in the veteran landscape, and I'm not going to name them, right, because it's unfair. I went to 3 big national organisations. All 3 said no. We're not going to fund. The wheelchair was £5,000 that he needed for a quality of life, right? And so I was like, right, no bother. And so I phoned them up and I said, look, I says, I've been here. They've all said no. And they said, he was like, upset, and he says, and him and his wife, and they said, we knew we wouldn't get one. We knew we wouldn't get one. Nothing's going to change. I says, it is going to change because I promised you I want to get you a wheelchair. Like, how are you going to do it? I said, I want to fundraise for it. And they were like, you're going to fund it? I says, I'm going to get you by Christmas. So that was about October. I says, I'm going to get you that wheelchair. And so I went back in the office and said, right, mission's on, and we're going to call it Mission Christmas. We're going to get him this wheelchair for Christmas. I need £5,000. And so we started doing stuff for it. We started getting stuff donated in. We got a bottle of port that was ancient. It was like from the 1960s, and it had SES engravings on it and stuff like that. It was in this lovely little box. So we did like a number draw for that. We were organising raffles. We were going to do coast to coast walk, but we had a storm hit like literally the day before, and we got told, do not go on the coast to coast walk. So I said, all right, what can we do then? So Dave, who I spoke about, my mate, who's one of our trustees, Dave said, let's do this walk, and we'll call it the 3 S's, and it's the three ports in the northeast with the letter S in. He says, we'll start at South Shields, we'll walk through Sunderland, and we'll finish at Same. So we did a sponsored walk, and we did that on a Sunday. And then on a Sunday night, we had a do in a local establishment, and we got a singer, a guy called Joe McMillan, Soldier Mac, who's XLI RSM. He does all singing. He came in for next to nothing, did the singing. We had raffles on, and we called it Mission Sunday. And and that was the day. As all this was building up, the Royal Artillery's got wind of what we're doing. So his unit was 4 Reg Royal Artillery at Topcliffe. They got wind of what we were doing. I guess a phone call from the family's officer, and he's like, I want to put £2,500 in the pot, and that's from the regiment. And I was like, wow, amazing. So straight away we got £2,500 in the pot. So we did all this, and we got £6,000, and so we raised £6,000, which was good, because just before Christmas I got to make the phone call to them, and I said, like I said, I don't want to name them that. I said, is your wife there? And he went, yeah. I said, put her on speakerphone. I said, I've just ordered your chair, and it'll be here just after Christmas. It'll be 6 weeks from now. And obviously they're both very emotional and stuff like that. The chair came, and basically it was a bit missing that they didn't put on the quote, which was another £900. So it's a good job we raised the £6,000 really, and that covered all that. And then so we got the chair, changed his quality of life, comes in every week now, and it got to the summer, and he said, I want to give something back. I want to do something. And I was like, what do you want to do? He said, I want to do the Great North Run. And I was like, all right, I'll do it with you. So we went round, just September gone, we went round Great North Run together. I was absolutely knackered, pushing him up hills.
I'll bet you were.
But we got to the home straight. He was like, I'll be all right from here. I'll be all right from here. And they were reading his name on the front, and they were going, well done, well done. And they said his name. I was like, well done. I said, I've just pushed him for fucking 12 miles. You know what I mean? So so we did the Great North Run together. Just to do that with them, and get over the line, it just shows how far I'd come in a year. And that's the can-do attitude. And I don't think you'd see the CEO of any major charity in this country doing what I did that day to, number one, raise the money with the attitude, but number two, to go around with them afterwards, and and just get over the line. And it was an emotional moment for like everyone there, because his wife ran at the same time, but she didn't run with us. We just went on our own, and then so she'd finished. My wife was there, his son was there on the finish line waiting for us. My daughter was there, and just have them applaud us over the line, and it wasn't a case of, it was never going to be a case of let's get round as quick as we can. It was a case of let's just go and do it and get round, and we did that, and it was fantastic, honestly. But that's all from that attitude of can do.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm speechless, to be honest, because I know how much good you've done. I just want to say something. Go back to I interviewed a guy, and he said to me, "It was Godfrey Bloom, right?" And something he said to me, we were talking about veterans charities and things like that, and he just said, "If I could give anyone any piece of advice, he goes, do not give money to a charity where the CEO earns more money than you do."
Mhm.
And that's them big charities. And I'm not, again, not wanting to name them and stuff like that, but we all know that, why do they need diversity officers and
Yeah.
stuff like this? You just, it's very, I don't want to get political, but they don't, you know what I mean? But when he said that to me, don't pay a charity where the CEO gets paid more than you. And because they're not doing it for charity, they're doing it for themselves. And I'm just like, yeah, fair enough. And he mentions other things in that, so I'll go and listen to it. Not that I'm pushing my own podcast. Yes, I am.
Self-promotion.
No one else is going to do it. But no, it opened my eyes to quite a bit. But again, like going back to what I was saying just now, I was shocked to realise that there's just not that much help out there anymore. But there's more things coming up, And what's your future plans then for the next say 12 months or whatever?
So next, I'll let you into a few secrets here then. Our future plans. First one, continue what we do. The service we provide. I'll always demand a high service from everyone that comes in, and if they cannot demand it, then they're in the wrong job. Unfortunately, that's the standards that we've set for ourselves, and that's the standards we have to maintain. And so that's the first mission, is to continue what we do. Behind the scenes, a lot goes on that people don't see, and yeah, just continue that side of it. The accreditation is our next big thing, and our accreditation day is the 11th of December. And on that day, we'll get grilled a little bit. It's a full day, so we're just finishing the documentation of the day. It's got to be submitted by Friday. That'll be done tomorrow. And then the 11th of December is our accreditation day. And we'll get through that, and then we'll get the results probably in the new year. But what I want East Durham Veterans to be is the first veteran-specific charity in the northeast of England that is COBSUO registered. So COBSUO, the Confederation of Armed Forces Charities, of Service Charities. And if you're a member of COBSUO, you've got credibility. And we're coming up our 2-year anniversary with COBSUO now. And that gives us the credibility because they do very, very stringent diligence on you. Now, I know a number of organisations that can't get through it because they can't get past the due diligence. We got past it the first time because we're straight as a die, basically. And we got through that. So I want us to be the first veteran-specific charity in the northeast of England that is COBSUO registered and accredited for the quality network of veterans mental health services. And that's what the accreditation will give us, is that specific accreditation. So it'll be specific to veterans mental health services, accredited, and a member of COBSUO. And Up Courage have got it in the northeast, who are veteran specific, but they're not a charity. We want to be the first charity in the northeast that is COBSUO registered and accredited to the quality network for veterans mental health services. So that's the big thing that's coming up. We are in the process of trying to get into our own building, and it's currently sitting with Durham County Council, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be successful with that. And when we are successful, I can't really see where it is on here, unfortunately, or anything like that. It's a long way down the line now. It's been going since we first learned of it in May. We've done expressions of interest, and we've done all the paperwork that's been asked of us and required. We've answered all the questions, and I think we're in a strong position. And it'll be the first veteran service. When we get that building, if we get that building, we're going to create such an impact for veterans in the northeast of England. It's going to be unbelievable through that. And that's going to be our big focus going into 2025, is that building. And then we're going to continue doing what we do, like I said, to start the services. But also the last few years, I've been out to Poland, and I've been on the border with Ukraine. Next year, I'm going into Ukraine, and I'm taking aid over at the start of next year. and I'm aiming that as part of Mission Christmas this year. Last year we did the wheelchair. This year we want donations of children's clothes, adults' clothes and children's toys to take over. And people don't realise, because they don't see it in the news, what's going on over there. And there's over 21,000 amputees from that conflict. And again, that was brought up in the recent conference I was in at the Armed Forces Covenant. So I really want to support them that way, if we can. And I'm also in discussions with a guy called Marcus, who's opening a veterans retreat in Bulgaria. And they're after some stuff to go down there to get that up and running. And I'd love to be able to support them with that. Possibly take the stuff down there. And be a canny drive, be a few days drive to get there, but we'll get there and we'll take the stuff down, and then hopefully get some veterans involved and get them out there later on in the year, and go and have a bit of a retreat and go get yourselves to Bulgaria and stay in this place. And he sends us the photos every week. This is happening, that's happening, and it's looking incredible. And he's had a lot of support, and I know he's had the first veterans families out there recently, so. At the moment, that's our big focus for 2025. We are going to have a big drive on fundraising in 2025. We've got the London Landmarks Half Marathon. It's the first time we're ever going to have the London Marathon itself. We've got one space in that. Then I've got someone else coming forward who's already got a space but wants to fundraise for us, which is amazing. So London Marathon, we're going to do a parachute day again. We're aiming for 35 people to jump out of an airplane on the same day. We've done that previously, and we're bringing that back. We've got the Great North Run, and with the Great North Run and the London Landmarks and stuff like that, we open the ante. So rather than saying normally London Landmarks, we take 3 people. This year we're taking 17. Normally the Great North Run we ask for 20 spaces. This year we're asking for 35. So we open the ante on them and asking for more spaces to get more people in to raise more money. And that obviously the situation we're in as a country at the moment, it's going to cost charities and businesses more money. So we need to be ready for that. And these are some of the things we're doing to up the ante with that. We've got the big 2 in March as well, which is paddling the longest lock in Scotland and climbing Ben Nevis and coming back down. And at the end of next year, we aim to take a minimum of 10 veterans to Nepal for 2 weeks, and we're going to do 5 days in the Akapuna mountain range, followed by some whitewater rafting on the river for a few days, and then we're going to go into the jungle and do a few days safari. And so yeah, not a lot really.
No,
not
you're going to be bored.
I know. Sounds shit, doesn't it?
If anybody wants to help with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Phone the office number, and good job, I've got my wife in this room right now, so when I get this wrong, she'll tell us I'm wrong. 0191 581 5677. That's right, she gives us the thumbs up. Or they can call on our website, www.eastdurhamveterans.co.uk, or they can email us direct at contact@eastdurhamveterans.co.uk.
And all the links for that and everything I'll put in the show notes as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm a bit of a fanboy for your place as it is, so I want to have a quick word with you afterwards as well about something.
Yeah, no bother.
But honestly, thanks for coming on. It's been wonderful. Nearly 2 hours. Bloody hell. That's flown. I'll end the recording now. Thanks very much for coming on, Andrew.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, that would be great, because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people I can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.